Welcome to the second episode of the Love, Faith, Endurance podcast. Today we got my cousin Jasmine Newson with us. Say hey to the people's ass.
Hey, how are you guys?
Hey, so we just gonna go ahead and get right into it. Introduce yourself and tell everybody about you.
It's always a hard task for me. My name is Jasmine Newson. I am a speaker, a writer, and a humanitarian. I have a blog called Janie Wisdom, The Revelations of a Millennial Woman, YouTube, and yeah, I do a lot in the community, but just really happy to be here and support what you're doing.
We definitely appreciate you being here. So we just gonna get right into it. So you grew up, as a your father's a pastor.
Yes.
So I know there's some good things and there's some challenges that come with it. Tell us about some of the challenges.
I saw both sides, and I remember being younger. I really didn't know. I just knew he was always in church, and that was like really hard. And then when he became a pastor, I felt like there was a lot of pressure to be good, and
Right.
I think that mindset has kind of always played in my mind. I got to be good. I got to be the best. I have to be, perfection when it doesn't exist. So yeah, it was a lot of pressure growing up with a dad as a pastor, but thankfully my dad was like very transparent. He was very like honest about God and church, and because of that, I don't think that I had the same experiences as a lot of preachers' kids. Like my dad was super strict. He stopped when I was 12. He stopped being strict. I think he realized like, wait, I'm gonna lose them, both of my daughters, if I don't kind of let them live their life or let them find their own path. And I can't restrict them from so much. So my dad was definitely, he's not a typical pastor in general. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, not at all.
yeah, though I felt the pressure, it just wasn't as bad as I know that it could have been had I been a daughter to another type of pastor. But because of him, the pressure of society was there, but I think he kind of bridged that gap between us.
Yeah, I can definitely see that because I know how it is, with my parents, being how they are, raising us up in the word. And I know there was a lot of pressure on us. I felt like it, but I can only imagine how much it would be on somebody whose parents was an actual, pastor, somebody who was really like in the ministry like that. And so,
Yeah.
man, whenever we have like family functions or whatever, I would see your pops and I'd be like, oh, I gotta stay away because I felt like God was telling him, hey man, he ain't, something ain't right with him, man. Like, oh no. I come to say what's up, but I ain't gonna be over there just talking.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of advantages though. Yeah, the pressure was there and the self perfection piece, that was a part of it. And I'm still kind of breaking away and unlearning some of the stuff that I kind of went through back then. But there was a huge advantage because I knew that I could call him for anything.
Yeah.
I knew that when I was in distress, and I know most people call their parents anyway when they're in distress, but like I would call my dad because I know that he would give me a voice of reason. I remember one time I got rejected from a program that I was trying to get into, and I called him. I was like, Dad, I am so mad. And he was like, woo! And he like started clapping, and I was like, what are you doing? He was like, you need to be rejoicing because whatever is on the other side of this is going to be amazing. Like, God closed that door for a reason. And he was right. So it was definitely an advantage growing up with a man that knows how to lead both in his household, but also he can lead you to Christ and like help break down the relationship to God that you're going to have and grow up to be. So I was thankful for that part. There's always pros and cons, but he's definitely a pro.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, having that much wisdom in the house, man, I mean, right there in the same dwelling as you, man, that's gotta be, I can only imagine how like advantageous that is. So at what age was it that you were like, or matter of fact, what happened in your life that made you just be like, all right, I gotta get my relationship with God right. You know what I'm saying? I gotta really take it seriously.
So I have always loved God. Like when I think one of my first words was hallelujah, because that's how much we were in the church.
Oh,
So I've always had a relationship with God, but for a long time it was through the avenue of my parents. So it wasn't until I would say I was graduating high school, going into college, that I like really truly found out for myself.
Okay.
Was able to like really build a relationship versus just kind of the religious practice of saying that you're a Christian. So I think I transitioned high school and college. The first time that I heard God's voice, I was in high school. And my graduation was the next day. And God was like, wake up. And I was like, wait, what? Wake up. And I was like, I was at home by myself. So I was like, wait, what is happening? And he showed me that a relationship that I was in was about to end and
Mhm.
why it was going to end. And, you know, I remember telling God, like, okay, I get all that, but you're going to have to help me. And
Right.
like maybe like a few minutes later, my ex ended up calling me and like we had a conversation. I had already knew what he was gonna say. And so I
God
think
told you exactly what he was going to say.
yeah, like he like told me what happened. And it was crazy. So he called me and he was like talking and he was like, I just God has been dealing with me. And I was like,
Mm.
he's been dealing with me too. And so yeah, he ended up closing that door for me. And that was the first time that I heard his voice very clear because before that I thought that people were lying when they said that they could hear from God or that
Yeah.
there was something that he had to say. I was just like, no, there's no way. It's just the Bible. But no, like I heard his voice. And ever since then, he has been talking to me. And what a lot of people don't understand is whatever brings you peace, even when it is a difficult decision, whatever you feel is right, like your intuition, like you have to trust that when you know that God has called you. Well, you have to trust that discernment and that voice that tells you what to do. And a lot of times we don't trust that voice because we don't trust ourselves. And we don't realize that we are made in the image of the creator. So that means that whatever you are feeling, that intuition, especially when you're connected, that's God.
That's from God.
Uh, and a lot of times people don't listen to that. People do not. I know for a fact it took me a long time to trust that voice. And it
Mm-hmm.
was because I thought, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I'm tripping, or maybe
Right.
I heard wrong. And he'd be like, no, this is what I said. So yeah, I would say like that from that point, right before I graduated from high school to college was just this huge like defining years when it came to my relationship with God. And then when I graduated, I thought, okay, I'm done, you know, growing in my relationship with God and
Right. Right.
I'm good. And he was like, hold, hold on one second. We got a little bit more life to go through.
Right. Right. Yeah, man. It's a never ending process.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Just right when you think that you've got to the end of it, he shows you like, nah, you still
Yeah.
have a long ways to go. You know.
Yes.
And
And that's
I
I
remember
have
my first time hearing from, well, one of my first times hearing from God. It was actually like my second. My first time I was in like eighth grade, but the second time I was with some teammates in college, and we were headed back to the apartment one night from doing something we shouldn't have been doing. I'm behind the wheel, and I hear God tell me, "You shouldn't be driving." And I'm just
Mhm.
like, what? I'm like, man, I'm good. You know, I done drove from, all over the city, all kinds of, all times of the night. I'm good.
Yeah.
About a mile from the apartment, so we pull out and we go maybe a quarter mile up the road. Boom, get hit. And
Oh man.
I realized right then, I was like, wow. I was like, that was God speaking to me.
Yeah.
Ever since then, I started listening to those little small voices I would get, those little feelings that would tell me like, nah, maybe you shouldn't be doing this right now. I started taking it serious, and I can say that I've been in some really good situations because of it, and I've been out of some bad situations because I really listened.
What are you telling?
Yeah, man.
And you know what I realized when you don't listen, you make it more difficult for yourself.
Yeah.
Like you really be trying to protect you and like really be trying to say like, no, I need you to do this because I know what's on the other side if you don't. And so we have to learn to like really, really trust that voice and to listen to be obedient because you know they always say obedience is better than sacrifice.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I was like, oh, what a cliche. And then like I got to the point where I had to start practicing obedience. And I was like, oh, you sacrifice time, you sacrifice your energy, you
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice pain, you sacrifice like all of this because you didn't listen or you didn't obey. So I think it's definitely something that has to be broken down to millennials so that we can understand. But in plain words, obedience is better than sacrifice.
It's so funny too, though. You know how you might hear somebody. they'll be like, man, something told me I should
Yeah.
do this. You know, that something is God. You know, so God,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
don't go here, don't do
Hmm.
this. So
Yeah.
yeah, we definitely got to do a better job as people. You know what I'm saying, of just obeying that voice. You know what I'm saying, and really, I think it comes down to patience too.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, definitely.
sometimes we rushing to do this, rushing to do that.
Yeah.
Slow it down. You know what I'm saying? Slow it down.
Hmm.
Ain't nothing going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? We just gotta tune in to what he wants you to do. You know what I'm saying? Not so much what
Yeah.
you're trying to do.
Which is funny that we're talking about this because we're in a place where everybody has to be in this solitude, still place.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are struggling and saying like, oh, I'm bored or I don't want to be here and da 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 da, because they're not used to sitting still enough to hear anything. And so when you start like finally sitting still and tapping in, it could be scary if you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
It could be truly scary. So I think a lot of people don't know how to navigate stillness, how to navigate quiet, because we have always found something. Even when we're home, we're like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I got some time, but I'm definitely about to put on this Netflix stuff. I'm definitely about to binge this series. Definitely about to. We find things even in the stillness to feel it, and so that's it's very important to have that time, especially right now when we're kind of going through all this stuff with Corona and all that Rona, whatever you want to call it, but Rona, that's what black people call it.
Right.
But yeah, like we're going through so much with that. But this is a time to just be still and enjoy solitude. I don't believe you have to create nothing unless you are led to do so.
Right.
Just sit in the stillness, and I believe clarity comes from stillness. And so I think this is a chance to get clarity, but it is also scary. It's also a very scary time, but it's also a time to get clarity and to be still, because we will probably never have this ever again. This won't happen again. We won't be this still. We won't be this quiet again, unless we force it. So yeah.
And it's so wild because like I've been hearing people say, "Oh, I'm so bored. I'm so bored. I'm tired of just sitting at home." And me, I feel like so like I'm working from home now, but I'm just like, man, like what I'm saying, this time to just kind of chill at home. I'm cool with it. I got
Yeah.
Bible. I got a whole bunch of other books, what I'm saying, a whole bunch of stuff I
Yep.
can get to. I'm like, man, this is cool with me. I'm cool with just being still, just being quiet. You know what I'm saying? Like quiet is like it's like something that people try to stay away from. I think a lot of people know that, hey, if I'm still, it kind of it's like a distraction. You know what I'm saying? They like to keep themselves distracted. You know what I'm saying? Because when during that quiet time, you really got to be real with yourself. You know what I'm saying? You can't just, you know, binge on Netflix or be out with your friends. You got to deal with that inner man. What's
Yeah.
really
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of people don't know what that looks like. No one has ever, even, I don't know if you noticed with your parents, but my parents don't necessarily like to sit still. Like they will go to the store on purpose or like, hey, I want this, so I'm gonna go. Like they don't know how to sit still. So that means that no one has ever been taught how to sit still and to be in solitude,
yeah,
other than when you were on punishment as a child, you were put in timeout, or you need to be in your room, like you need to stay in your room, you can't go outside. But like outside of that, we have never had a space to like be quiet and still, because like no one has taught us what to do in that space. And so that's why a lot of people are struggling right now, because it's like I can't go out to the club, I can't
and go
like go
can't
out with
do
my
that
friends,
no more.
I can't smoke hookah on Instagram. Like what's life?
Yeah, you at the crib chilling, but it's so
Yeah.
hard because I find myself in there sometimes. I'm somebody who was like always doing something, like always trying to work on something. You know what I'm saying? It's like from the time I wake up in the morning around 5:30, I'm going, till probably like 10, 11 o'clock at night. You know what I'm saying? So me just like having to like make myself like sit still, just be quiet, not try to tackle a whole bunch of tasks, that can be tough. I was actually talking to my dad about it the other day. He was like, yeah, I forgot what we were talking about, but I was telling him, I was like, yeah, I need to learn how to really just rest, and it's not like not being active, it's just your mind, you know what I'm saying? Like my mind is always going like, okay, shoot, I could be using this time to get this done, to do this. But it's like
Yeah.
you gotta sometimes for me, I gotta stop myself and be like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do right now? What do you
Mm-hmm.
want me to do with this free time?
My dad always says, "Are you in the right frequency?"
Mm,
And he would be like, "You can't hear V103 when you go to South Carolina or North Carolina. Like, you can only hear it in Atlanta because that you're in the right frequency." He's like, "What frequency are you in? Because when you're not in that, you're gonna hear a lot of static." And what a lot of people have realized, I think, during this quiet time is there is a lot of static because they have gotten kind of away from, and it happens to all of us. It happens to the best of us, honestly. We're like, wow, I've kind of gotten away from what I was supposed to be doing. I've kind of gotten off track. Like, and that's why you have to be thankful for the pause because the pause will allow you to see, okay, I'm not exactly where I'm not as in line as I thought I was. Let me get back right.
talking about, all of this and dealing with the inner man and getting right on the inside. I know you talk a lot about healing when you go out and you speak. So talk to us about that. Like, what was it that went on that you had to like heal from, or like how does your healing process look like? What does it look like?
So I went through a shaking in 2000. I would say honestly since I graduated college,
Okay.
but it really, really happened in I would say 2016 and 2017. Like I was in St. Louis and I was up there for a pre-med post-bac program because at that time I was still wanting to do medicine and school was hard. I was questioning my move to St. Louis. Like, should I have come to the grad program? I missed my students because I had just finished teaching. So it was just a lot of identity shifts and crises that I dealt with during that time in St. Louis. I lost one family member in November of 2015, and then another one in January 2016. And one of them was 1 year younger than me.
Yeah.
So that was just like, and the other one was my favorite uncle. So I was just like, okay, what's happening? And for the first time, then is when I felt, I think for the first time, I felt and admitted that I probably had depression. I was like, I think this is what depression feels like. And thankfully, that is like God is so good that He always literally puts people in my life to talk to me and to help bring me through things. And when my friend was getting her PhD in counseling, and so she called me and was just like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, what's going on?" And I just told her, and I was just like, "I am just not, I'm not here." And so that was kind of the first time where I was like, "Okay, I got to take care of myself. I got to start, having self care and in that process." And then I finished my program and I came back to Atlanta, and that was the first time that I was still and in solitude. There was no school, there was nothing, no job that I had because I was studying for the MCAT. That was the first time I was still, which is why I'm talking so heavily about what we're going through right now because I had a similar time like this, except it wasn't forced. It was when I came home. That's just the way that my life was,
Right.
and when I did that, I realized that wow, I have a lot of things to heal from. Like something isn't right. I was like watching Grey's Anatomy, and this girl was saving everybody else in the hospital, and she was running on adrenaline so hard that she didn't realize her own pain. And then the moment that she was able to get the patient fine, she ended up feeling all her pain and it hit her really hard to the point where she crashed. And I remember watching that one day and I was like, this is kind of deep. And then I paused it and I was like, wait, is that me? When we think about trauma in our lives, we think like this horrible thing has to happen to us. But honestly, what really impacts us and hits us is a whole lot of a whole lot of small things or a whole lot of just regular life events compounded in a like a concentrated season
Yeah.
that make you be like, well, what is happening? Like, what is my life? And for me, so much of my identity was found in career and what I was going to do and what I was trying to do and who I was with. And so when God shook my foundation of finding my identity in those things, I knew that it was a lot that I needed to heal from.
Yeah.
And so one of the biggest things I needed to heal from was the way that I perceive God. Because let's be honest, a lot of times God will for our lives looks nothing like what we thought it would be, and where we thought we would go. And so I had to learn to heal from that. Healing is, I think, the way to uncover your purpose. So yeah, I was like, I got to do it. I started admitting what was going on. I began to forgive. And then, like, one of the biggest steps that I talk about in my healing series is reflection. You will spend most of your life blaming everybody else for what has happened to you. Like, they did this and mad and I can't believe they broke my heart and I can't believe they laughing. And you can't always focus on they because you also have to realize like, wow,
Yeah.
I need grace too. Like
Right.
I have needed grace. I have needed mercy. And so when you start taking account of what you've done and how you continue to be forgiven, then it's easier to forgive someone else and to understand that when people hurt you, it has nothing to do with you, and it's all about their own brokenness and how they haven't been able to work through that. And when you understand that and know that, you move through life a little bit easier. Yeah, things still hurt. You're still human, but I think you are able to get clarity on why things happen. I think a lot of times we look for why. We look for apologies. We look for somebody to say acknowledge that they did us wrong. That's not always going to happen.
Yeah.
And so you have to get to a point where you say, okay, that had nothing to do with me, and I got to take myself out of this.
Gotta change our point of view. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We gotta get the focus off us, you know, and start looking out like, okay, why is this really happening? You know what I'm saying? We gotta see things the way God sees things. I know when you were saying your identity was so wrapped up in all these other things, you know, I can relate to that because, you know, I played ball, you know, my whole life. So that's what I was, like, basketball player, you know, and I remember just being in Peru, which was the last place I played at professionally. I remember being over there and God was just showing me different things. And he was speaking to me one day and he was like, you know, I've got more for you than this. You can continue doing this and stay where you are, or you can follow what I have for your life and experience so much more. And I was like, you know what? I wasn't as satisfied as I thought I would be, you know, becoming a pro basketball player. I just thought, you know, once I get to this level,
Yeah.
else will be cool. I'll be satisfied. But I realized, you know, I made it here and I'm still not satisfied. So I gotta really link up with the one that's gonna fully complete me and fully satisfy me. And, you
Yeah.
know, I left, you know, and you know, I wasn't playing ball no more. I'm trying to transition into something else, man. It was tough, you know, because every day it was wake up, work out, play ball, do this. But now
Mm-hmm.
my routine, my whole world is upside down. It's something different. And it took a little minute, but you know, once I really locked in and trust God, you know, it was so much better. My life is so much more fulfilling, you know, with me doing what I'm doing now, as opposed to, you know, playing ball. And there's nothing wrong with ball, but it was just like that one,
Wasn't what God had fully, you know.
just a part of
Yeah.
the journey. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't the final destination.
Yeah. That was really deep what you said about that God told you that He had more. And I believe we are very limited in the way that we look at our careers and our purpose. And like, well, that's all. And for me, it was medicine. Like, yep, that's what I'm gonna do. And God's like, actually, I mean, you can go through that for a second, but like, I got something else, and it's way better than what you think. And so I just think trusting God for the better while you're in the middle is very important
Yeah.
because like your whole routine changes, your whole course of the way that you think, your perspective changes, and you realize like, wow, I was living my life pursuing this one goal when this is not the ultimate anymore. This isn't. I shouldn't even be. My whole life shouldn't be trying to pursue this. I should have just been trying to pursue God's purpose. It should never have been a specific thing other than His will and His purpose for my life. So when you have to make that transition, it is difficult because you're so used to like I did this and I'm gonna go there and once I get there I gotta go here and God's like yeah no I got a whole other plan but appreciate you for thinking you had something.
Right. And it's so funny, you know, God's plan is ultimately to bring us to a place of rest. You know, and I was thinking about like the Old Testament, you know, when he was leading the Israelites like through the wilderness.
Hmm.
All throughout there, you see where it says he wanted to bring them to a place of rest. You know,
Yeah.
they kept thinking, okay, well, shoot, we can do this on our own. You know, we don't really need your help to do this when God had delivered them from so much before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just kind of reminds me of I believe it's in Proverbs, but it says we can make our plans, but the Lord orders our steps. You know what I'm saying? So all this stuff planned out of what we want to do when ultimately it's his purpose that's got to prevail, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And what you said about the Israelites were was real, because the thing about it is when you know that you're supposed to be doing something else, like that's like a huge, it's like a huge light that comes on, like, cool. I know that this ain't it, so I know I'm supposed to be going somewhere. And what happened with the Israelites was they prayed, um, to kind of to be up from under the Egyptians,
Mm-hmm.
but they did not. They didn't think that God would answer their prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because they didn't think God would answer their prayer, they were not prepared for their answered prayer.
Right.
They weren't prepared to be free. And a lot of times we use our words, oh God, your will, your purpose for my life. You're not prepared for that prayer.
Right. It's a lot.
You're not, you are not there. Like you can't even comprehend what freedom, And one thing I think to combat that is to make sure that whatever you're praying for, you start action and putting yourself into the position that this is what's going. If this is according to your will, God, like I'm gonna start. I'm gonna act like the CEO. I'm gonna do what I need to do. And
Yeah.
so, a lot of people don't understand it. So when you're not prepared, you get to the middle and you'll be mad, because that middle ground from where God has taken you to where He's trying to take you now is just gonna it's hard, because you're not going to know what to do, and you'll often look back and say, well, that was more comfortable, so I'm just gonna go back here.
Yeah, you're right. Because they kept wanting to go back to Egypt. It was like, well, we have
The same place that they prayed to be released from.
yeah.
Like, yeah, it's insane, but we are the children of Israel. We truly, we act just like them. And they had a very extreme case of not trusting God and all this stuff like that. But I see myself, I see a lot of parallels when I look in the Bible. When I look at the children of Israel, I'm like, I am them. I mean, like, and they eventually never. Only two of them, I think only the kids were able to see the promised land when they grew
Yeah.
up like that.
Caleb and Joshua, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he didn't even let them see the promised land
Mm-hmm.
because they complained so much. Because I think to God it was a disrespect to have brought you out of bondage and
Mm-hmm.
to try to take you somewhere else that you don't want to listen. So I think it was a true disrespect. So we have to make sure that we are careful what we say
Yeah.
in the middle. You can be honest and say, God, this sucks, but I'm gonna keep on trusting. Or you could even have a moment where you don't want to talk,
Yeah.
but you have to get to the point where we realize, well, he did take me out of this. So let me be grateful.
Yeah, you got to remember, the things that he's done for you, and places he's taken you from. And it's so wild. Like, when I read the Old Testament, I just see like it says like, and they went and worshiped other gods, and they worshiped idols and did this, and I'm just like, man, y'all are tripping. Like y'all saw him split the sea and do this, and y'all were led by, by the pillar of fire by night and the cloud by day, and it's like, how are y'all even gonna go over there and do this? But I realized, I was like, you know what? Lots of times we do the same things. We
Mm-hmm.
worship Netflix, we worship other people, or food,
Oh, we
whatever.
worship distractions. Every single one.
Yeah, distractions. Yeah, yeah, man. And we've all done it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so I understood, but it's just like, dang, we gotta stay focused.
Yeah.
We gotta remember, who got us to where we are.
Mm-hmm. And to always be teachable and always be bendable. I think that's why a lot of times when it comes to healing and things like that, one of the biggest things I talk about is how brokenness makes you mendable. So when you are broken, or when life like really takes you out or shakes you to the point where you feel broken, God can now mend you and kind of form you into what He wanted. And so I think that process that the Israelites were going through was a molding process, but they did not want to be molded or beautiful.
Right.
They legit would rather stay broken than to walk into the promised land. And we have to be careful not be so attached to our stories, the parts, the painful stories that we don't even know that we have, we are a victor.
Right, right.
So I think that's like a huge thing too, is we have to make sure that we are formable, we are bendable, that He can change and kind of create a new in us all the time. Because if not, then we will be like the Israelites and won't see it, won't see what we need to see.
Let's change gears a little bit. I know last year You had, man. Every time I looked on Instagram, I swear I saw you speaking somewhere, to a group of people, in different churches. Tell me about that, man. And like, I guess, how did it come to be?
So I started speaking when I was in high school, and then in college, I kept getting put in a lot of leadership positions where I would have to be the one in the forefront. I remember I was doing an organization called Talk to Touch, and we were bringing it back on campus because it had kind of been quiet for a year or two on Georgia State's campus, and as we were forming it, the old e-board was like, okay, so we gotta do e-board positions, and Jasmine, you're gonna be president. I'm like, huh? Like, why? And even my senior year, when I got the opportunity to speak at, they were changing one of the dormitories' names to one of the past presidents of Georgia State, and
Okay.
they wanted me to speak because I was a part of the freshman class, the first freshman class to live there, and I was also an RA my senior year. There were just moments like that that let me know there was a gift there,
Mhm.
which was very crazy to me because I used to be super shy. I still am sometimes. I used to be like super shy to like speak in front of people. I'm talking about shaking. And when I was younger, I used to stutter. So it was just like,
Yeah, I don't
how
remember
is
that.
this gonna work? Huh?
I said, I don't remember that.
Oh, Terica got me out of it real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I used to stutter. I used to be very afraid of how I would come off and things like that. So yeah, it was just something that was laid dormant in me for a very long time. When I had to show up in some places or people would ask me to do things, I would kind of be like, why? I would do it. But yeah, before I moved back home, my old church went to DC and things like that, and it just from there started kind of taking off. And what I realized is um, that God has really He's placed a perspective in me. He's gifted me to speak about that perspective in a way that makes people listen. And it is difficult to have that on your life because you can't say just anything. Like I can't, just be out here like acting crazy because people will listen to me and there's an influence there. But yeah, I just started getting asked to speak, and I just kept saying yes. I got to I always say yes actually when it comes to speaking and sharing, and I just say yes because I know that that is what God gifted me with, and
Right.
I've had grown men walk to me and say, thugs from the street say,
Mhm.
I really needed to hear that, and so when you see that, it just trumps everything, all the doubts that you have about your voice and why are you the one to do it. And that, don't get me wrong, I still have those questions a lot, but yeah, I just started saying yes, and when I started saying yes, like my sister would always record me,
Yeah, yeah.
and she always like she calls herself my manager, but she will always record me, and I would just start putting that up. And when you put stuff up like that, people are like, oh my god, okay, like I want her to come speak to where I'm at. And to be honest, you gotta do a lot of free stuff. You gotta kind of like exercise that muscle. You gotta like get skin in the game before people can be like, oh, okay, like yeah, I want, and you gotta like spend money on yourself. You gotta like, I made videos and start talking, and honestly I'm supposed to be making more, but I'm playing, I am playing. But all of that to say, like, I just started. The thing about your gifts is they're always there. A lot of times though, sometimes gifts are wrapped in what you can view in yourself as a weakness. Like, I am an empath. I take on people's emotions. I can feel what they're feeling when they tell me something and I really care about them. And to me, I used to be like, that is such a weakness, but it's a gift.
Mhm.
I can talk to anybody. I can have a conversation with a complete stranger, and that part of me used to not just like, I need to stop talking to strangers. It's like, that's your gift. Or I write about the things that people don't necessarily want to talk about, like healing and brokenness, and how sometimes it's really hard to trust God, and it's like that can be annoying to some people. Like, it's a gift. And so it's just like operating and knowing what's your gift. I remember I got to a point in my healing when it was like in 2017. This is when it kind of all started taking off. I told God every single day, reveal your purpose to me, reveal your purpose to me, reveal what you want me to do, like set me up to do it. And he was like, okay, like I got you. and would just continue to put me in different situations and places and allow me to see what that looks like. Like he listened and was like,
Yeah.
yeah, because I got to a point where I was desperate enough to just say, do what you want to do with my life. It's not up to me clearly, so just do what you want me to do. And yeah, he started opening doors, and to this day, it's like so crazy to me because it's like I used to suffer. Like I used to be, I was so nervous when I was little that if we were in the drive-through line and I was in the back seat and she wanted me to order my food, she would pull up so that I could order, and I'm like, I can't do it. So to go from there to like having mics in my head, it's just really it's insane. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, man, definitely. It's so big. You were saying that everyone has their gift inside of them. Um, what is it's a verse, man. And
Your
I
gifts
can't
make
think.
room.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gifts make room for
Yeah.
you and bring you before great men. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
everybody has a gift, and I feel like lots of times people know what their gifts are, but they're afraid to really tap into it, you know, to really, really tap into it
Yeah.
because I really think it's because of what other people might think, you know.
Oh yeah. That's like a
'Cause I
huge
know,
part.
like like with me, you know, I played ball
Hmm.
that's my entire life, and then 2019, I come out with a book, you know, and it's just like, hold up,
Yeah.
who played basketball, now he out here writing books, like poetry, and it's like what, like you know, it's and you know, you kind of think about that, you just like, man, are people gonna really feel this? But
Uh huh.
it's not about what other people feel. You know, God has given you something to do, and you got to walk in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you know, people come up to me, man, and they're just like, "Man, your book really, really helped me while I was going through this.
Hmm.
It really, it does something to you. You know what I'm saying? It lets you know that, hey, you know, I wasn't crazy when I decided to do this. You know what I'm saying? I'm on the right path.
Yeah. I know for me, I was really struggling with the whole speaking thing because one of the biggest things was, yeah, what are people gonna say? But what type of person do I have to be now that I have, like done this thing,
Yeah,
or I've been in front of people, or I'm at church, like, will people always see me? Because that was the biggest thing for me when it came to speaking at churches. It was like I do not personally want to be a pastor. Like I don't like, y'all can invite me to your conferences and let me speak. Invite me to your church on one Sunday. I'm good. But personally, I didn't want to be a pastor. So when I started speaking in churches, I was very apprehensive to share those messages. And I remember one time, like when I went back to that church, my cousin's church that I spoke at, um, I went back and my sister was recording me, and there was like a part that I had on there, and I was like, God was like, you need to share that. And I was like, no, no, people are gonna think of me as a church girl. They ain't gonna like if they see me out, they're gonna be judging me and da da da. And he's like, who like put it up, like who cares? And
right.
it's like sometimes like we will talk ourselves out of something that could really bless somebody else because that's what it's about. It's not about you, It's not about you and how you feel about it. It's just you are a vessel. You are a mere instrument for this to come out. If you do not have discernment with that gift, a blessing could be perceived as a burden when you don't know what to do with it. And that happens a lot in spiritual gifts because a lot of people aren't getting spiritual gifting training. Like they're not telling you what to do with these gifts and what industry you're made for because of those gifts and
Right.
how you would be good at certain. Nobody is really developing people spiritually like that. That it's not something that is taught all the time. Like I think that's why when it comes to having a mentor, you have to make sure you have a mentor rooted in faith because they will be able to kind of walk you through that process. This is a gift. It's not gonna always be pretty all the time. You carrying this gift out. But like let's talk about how to like walk through this. And I got really lucky because I had my mentor Carrie. She would talk to me about stuff. I'd go to her and be like, yeah, I just don't feel like I'm in the right place in my relationship. Got to continue speaking. She was like, girl, bye. Like, she's like,
Just so
girl, you will never be that. Like, just go do what you got to do. And, it's not going to be easy sometimes. And I needed to hear that. Because what a lot of people do is they're like, oh, I'm following my purpose for God. I'm doing what I got to do. And they have this assumption that it's easier. than what the life that they just lived.
No, it's not.
By far the hardest. By far the hardest.
Because I mean, you know, when you're doing what God wants you to do, you're gonna be more open to attacks from the enemy. You know what I'm saying? Like if you out there doing stuff for for the enemy, everything will be cool. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
not everything will be cool, but he's not gonna really be worried about you because you're not really opposing him. You know what I'm
You
saying?
on his team.
Yeah,
You on
yeah.
his team.
So
So
it's
he's like, I ain't gotta worry about you.
yeah, yeah. So, but when you going against them, it's like, okay, look, we got to stop what they doing because he or she is stopping me from doing what I need to do. You know?
Hmm. And what we have to be careful of is when we're going through that process, that we understand that the enemy is not happy about what I'm doing. And a lot of people can get like kind of bound up in that. Oh, the enemy's acting like I just need to stop. Like this is too much. Like he's fighting me hard. But it's like think like the enemy and understand why he's trying to get you to stop. Like what must be on the other side if he want to do all of this. And then also we also have to have the perspective of just thinking about how God does things and how he wants to make sure that we know where our help comes from. Like that he is like truly helping us walk through things. And when life happens, because the thing about this, no matter who you are, what walk you have, no matter who you are, whether you Christian, saved, unsaved, any of that, life is tough.
Yeah,
And what we got to make sure we don't do when it comes to walking in our purpose is when we are in the tough parts of life, that we see all of this as an attack on us. Like we see, like everything got to be, we see all these isolated events as an attack on us. And it's like,
right,
no, it's not like life is going to happen to you. And we got to get out of the mindset of good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. And that's not true.
yeah,
That goes against the logic of being saved. Jesus
right,
was persecuted, but he was so good. So it's just like you gotta kind of change the way that society has taught you and really start like learning the way that it really is supposed to be and understand like there you are gonna go through things. The Bible tells us that. Like the whole Bible tells us we are gonna walk through some things like
we'll be persecuted.
so but yeah, it is easier to walk with him. So just do that.
Yeah, man, that's it. That,
Yep.
that is it, man. Definitely. So we coming to a close, but we are at my favorite, well, one of my favorite segments of the show. Um, Talk to me about some of the life verses that you like cling to, like during tough times, or some of the verses that you was like really raised on.
So I was raised on Psalms 23. Um, for the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And my dad would make us quote that when we would ask for money. Like, hey, Dad, can I get $1? Can I get $5? Can I get $10? He'd be like, quote Psalms 23. So it was ingrained in my head. But David was essentially having a very transparent and vulnerable moment with God. Like, he was pretty much saying what we just talked about was, yeah, I'm walking through the valley of the shadow. Like I know that I'm walking through this valley, but I know that you're with me. And
Right,
like he's like affirming his relationship with God. He's like literally making a resolve with God. Like I get all of this stuff is gonna happen. I get it. I'm glad that you're walking with me. I know what you're doing. You're putting me in front of my enemies. Like my cup running over. Like I love it.
right,
And
right.
so I think that is like very important. And it was something I was raised on, but I didn't really understand it until I got older. And so I love that one. But my most favorite right now, and something I've kind of been holding on to, is Romans 8:28-30. So I always used to say 8:28 because it was how does it go? I am blanking. It is all things work together for those who love God. But 29-30 is talking about how God glorifies you. He calls you. He calls you. No, he predestined you. He calls you. He glorifies you. And it just talks about how he has a plan from all of this. You're gonna have a lot of, well, I don't really speak that well. I don't really write that well. I don't really. And he's like, oh, okay, well, that's fine.
Right.
Because I already predestined and called you, I also have justified you to do exactly what I want you to do. Yeah, I know you can't do it on your own. Like you need me, but like I'm justifying you to do those things.
Right.
And then glorifies you. And because we are connected with God, we have access to His glory. So I just think it's amazing, and those are kind of the scriptures that I like always go to, always think about. Particularly Romans 8:28 through 30. Definitely read that. That that one will let you know like I am made for something. I am called for something. Like this is not a mistake. Like God really has something for me, and so that's a scripture that really has really helped me through the past year or so.
Yeah, I feel that for sure, man. I got a funny story about Psalms 23. So
Uh oh.
8th grade, right? We had a trip to Charleston. Um, and some kind of way, I don't know, my dad found out that I didn't know Psalms 23 or something like this. I'm like 13, 14 years old. And he was like, what? He was like, all black people need to know Psalms 23. And I was like, what? So he was like, you better have it memorized before you go on this trip or you ain't going. So I remember like every day for like 2 weeks I done read it, trying to just get it in my mind, get it in my mind. The day before I was supposed to go, I went to him. It must have been like 9, 10 o'clock at night. He in there asleep. I'm like, yo, Dad, I know Psalms 23. So I said it, and I'm pretty sure I said it right, but he was half asleep, and he was like, all right, all right, all right. I ended up leaving the next day to go on the trip, but, that's just, whenever I think about Psalms 23, I think about him being like, no, you better learn this. And all black
Yeah.
people know Psalms 23, and I'm just like, why all black people? Like, what? But,
I think it was something that a lot of like our grandmothers and stuff
yeah,
held on to. I'm sure in the time and the climate that they were in was all about walking through the valley, shadow of death, like going through this valley and like understanding who God is for you, and because of that, what He's gonna do. So because I think when I asked my dad about it, he said Grandma Pansy loved it,
um,
loved
yeah,
23. And so I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. And like, I really was able to understand and resonate and be like, that's why he wanted me to learn it. Like, I thought it was very annoying when I was a child. Like, just give me $1, give me $5. Like, stop playing with me. I'm gonna go to the movies. Give me 10. And I get it now. I'm like, oh, because honestly, when we went through stuff in adulthood, even when we weren't completely like in our purpose or in God, like we weren't doing what we necessarily needed to do. I remember those things when I was going through. I remember those scriptures. So yeah, they definitely you can commit them to memory and always remember something from
yeah, always.
it.
Uh,
Yeah.
well, cuz man, I appreciate you coming through, man, or not coming through, but linking up with me.
Yeah.
Appreciate
We
it.
are safe from the Rona, guys. We're safe from the Rona.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I appreciate it, cuz love you. Um,
Yeah.
let the people know where they can find you.
Okay, so my Instagram is jnewlove, JNEWLOVE. I have a website, jnewwisdom.com. That's where my blog is. Also, currently trying to spruce that up a little bit. So it's actually going to change to JasmineNewson.com. And yeah, Jasmine Newson on Facebook. And I think that's it. Yeah, YouTube, Jasmine Newson too. So
See,
all things.
I got to follow you on YouTube. I didn't even really know you had the YouTube thing going.
Yeah, so I put all my healing series videos on there.
Okay, got you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I need to be more active. Like I have some friends telling me, like, Jasmine, you playing? You need to be just put a camera in front of you and just start talking. I'm like, oh really? And they're like, no. So yeah, I'm gonna try to get more active on that. We're gonna see. Maybe during all of this quarantine stuff, I will.
Hey, you got the time. You got the time.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely got the time.
All right, cuz. Well, I appreciate it, man.
Welcome. Love you. Thank you so much. So proud of you.
Hey, no problem, man. Thank you. Love you.
All right.